Hi, Leo Sun and Rising. Welcome to your December 2021 Astro Update. It's Raina here. So, this is the last month of 2021. And I don't know about you, but it seems like it went by pretty quickly, all things considered. A lot quicker than 2020. And numerologically, 2021 has been a 5 universal year, which is all about change. But at the very least, it's connected to Mercury versus 2020 being a 4 year and Saturn and that sense of restriction. So I guess on that level, it makes sense, but it just is like blowing my mind that we're already here. And there's a lot happening. I think that this is like some kind of a grand culmination because we have the mirror dates of 20 of 12/12/21 and 12/21/21, and I'm like a numbers freak in terms of like the mystical value of numbers and that kind of thing. And so I'm just very excited about this on that level. And a lot of people who are in the know about this, point to the Mayan calendar and how people got it wrong. But I have that little part of myself that's always like reserved for, a little bit of healthy skepticism because I don't recall people saying that it wasn't the end of the world back in 2012. And then after the fact, it seems like the sometimes the goalposts are moved back, or further back. But I have heard reasonable explanations of it, and certainly if we think about it in terms of other belief systems that have talked about the end of the world, even in the Bible, Revelations, the end times. What I think now is that a lot of what is going on is the end of the control of humanity. And so that's a completely different animal. And if you view it from that lens, it has a much more positive vibe, than the end of the world, obviously. So just my 2 cents on that. And so as the month of December begins, we have Neptune going direct in its own sign of Pisces, where it has been transiting since about 2000, well, since 2012. And Pisces is your eighth house. So it's been in this eighth house. By the way, all of these dates, all of these houses can differ depending on what your natal or solar chart is. And this is just meant as a general reading. So you'd have to actually, for instance, have the natal chart if you're listening for Leo rising to really know exactly when Neptune went into your eighth house and that kind of thing. So that's really amazing that Neptune is in the eighth house and has been for years now, because it's in its own right a mystical house. Now, it differs from Pisces, the 12th house. This is a water house too. So we have the 4th house, home and family, Cancer, the 8th house, death, the mysteries of the universe, other people's money. There's all kinds of things at the 8th house, and then the 12th house is karma, past lives, the dream state, and things like that. That's what Pisces and Neptune represent, but now you have it transiting in this 8th house. And so it's melding it's actually very compatible with it in that sense of having maybe transcendent experiences, and perhaps some of you can attest to that you've had those. But in any case, there can be some issues as it pertains to money that you share with others. So one of the big ones of The eighth house is inheritances, because death plus other people's money equals inheritances. And you could also say a spouse's money. In both of these instances, there might be some Leos who in the past 6 months have found out that their partner has been doing something secretively with the money, with inheritance, maybe some sketchy activities. Neptune can be about deception. So definitely while this transit is in place, and I think it'll be here until at least 2027, if you are married or you have, you're kind of blending money with another person, be on top of that if you can, or don't get a joint account and keep your money separate. I'm not a financial advisor, but I'm just thinking out loud of how you could protect yourself, because Neptune in this house can indicate that somebody is deceiving you, or has the potential, or will deceive you, or will try to deceive you when it comes to some kind of money that you also may have some right to, some stake to, in, or however you say that. So Neptune has been retrograde for about 6 months, a little less than 6 months. And, or I could say a little bit more than 5 months, that might be more accurate. And that might have been a time when you did find out something, especially, I would say, around the September period, when, later in September, when there was a full moon in Neptune, in Pisces, I'm sorry. That might have shed light on what was going on. But in any case, now that Neptune is direct, it allows you to have more trust, kind of like a childlike trust in those around you. Eighth house sometimes can be trust issues too, because it deals with intimacy. And just in general, a more, to me, a more positive way of looking at what we would call, I was going to say mysticism, but also we could say metaphysics, because you might have had some kind of experience that made you a little bit cynical, and now you are getting over that, and you're able to trust again that this is a path that works for you. On the 4th, we have a solar eclipse at 12 degrees of Sagittarius, and this is actually falling in the 5th house, which is the house that you rule, Leo. So that's very nice, because this is almost like having a solar eclipse in your sign, in a sense. And it's a great place for one. Now it is an eclipse, so it may have more of an unsettling effect. And don't look to that exact date of the 4th for everything to go down, because it might even be happening right now as I record this, where you're having some kind of shakeup in your love life. Really, this can be insight. And sometimes the insight is accompanied by an event, an experience that makes you see something in a whole new light. Solar eclipse, light. And this is about love. Now, you might be single and still have this experience, because it just may give you insight into your attitude towards love. And if that attitude hasn't been very positive, then perhaps on a subtle level, you've been pushing away potential partners, and not meaning to, but just because you have a, a feeling that is ambivalence, or I don't know how else I would put it, just maybe not feeling as if it's really love in some cases. The fifth house, I mean, even it's not, sometimes it can be about falling in love, but it can also be if love is still there, you're with somebody for 20 years. And is it love or obligation, duty, whatever you want to call it? And you may question that and not feel necessarily that the relationship that you're in is truly a love thing. And I think that it's worthwhile to kind of, examine that rather than just accepting it. So let's see. And because this is a powerful new moon, there could be new seeds planted in this area. Also, this is creativity. So suffice it to say, this might be this might be a jumping off point of a whole set of new creations for you. I think any time that there's an eclipse, be it a solar or a lunar eclipse in the fifth house, which is the house of conceiving children, to be careful if you absolutely do not want children, what you're up to, because that could be a surprise pregnancy. On the 13th, Mars goes into Sag. So that's more of that fifth house activity. And also the fifth house is a house of pleasure and fun and things like that. Mars is very physical, so there could be some kind of athletics or, sports angle here. People who have their natal Mars in the fifth house may enjoy competitive sports, participating in it. So as a transit, it might be either getting into the martial arts or maybe going to a boxing match, I don't know. But something that you're personally doing that has a physical angle to it. So, it could be pleasurable. Maybe ecstatic dance. How about them apples? That might be kind of cool. I noticed a spiritual center that I have, frequented in the past is now offering ecstatic dance. And I think I think, and I always used to like to dance, but I think I'd be kind of embarrassed. I don't know. Feel a little bit inhibited. I don't know. But I'm sure a Leo person wouldn't. That's for sure. Okay, on the same date, on the 13th, Mercury goes into Capricorn. And so Mercury is going into this very practical sixth house. And this is the house of work. This is the house of health. And Mercury is the ruler of the sixth house, under the sign of Virgo, that is. So it has that connection to diet, other health matters, and Mercury can be researching or perhaps, like reading books about health, consulting about diet. It can be like, or thinking about it, within yourself. And it can also be something to do with your place of employment. So you might be negotiating with it in some way, perhaps as like what kind of schedule. This is also the house of your daily routine or schedule. So if you are somebody who is making that transition from the home to the work, to, like the office, that might be something that you're trying to hash out, or perhaps advocate for either staying at home or going in, or maybe like a hybrid type of thing. But you're putting some kind of mental energy into this area. On the 18th, we have a full moon at 27 degrees of Gemini. Now, Gemini is 2 signs behind you. So this is the 11th house. This is the house of hopes and wishes. Full moons can bring things to fruition. So you might see some kind of a dream of yours, and I'm talking about a desire that comes to fruition. It might be a situation where you are perhaps ending a friendship. But you see, that's the interesting thing. And I noticed this with some of the other signs, Leo, that are dealing with certain transits in houses that might be connected to spiritual matters, is that I feel like a lot of times when somebody is having a spiritual awakening, the old life kind of falls to the wayside. So the whole social network or, support system, whatever you call it, your, BFFs, it might be that they have kind of gone past the expiration date. Not trying to say anything bad, but just the reality of it. And I think in the collective, this has been the case too. And even with family members, with a lot of people, that they just don't, there's just such a divide that it's hard to even feel like you know these people anymore. This is specifically the house of friendships, though. So that might be, or you find out something about a friend, you hear about it. Maybe they were keeping something from you. It's like a secret that you discover. This is also the house of gains. So the 10th house is the house of career, and this can be this could have a financial component to it. So you might profit from something career-wise. Now, who knows? Maybe that Mercury in your 6th house has some kind of connection with this. So negotiating might pay off. On the 19th, we have Venus retrograding at 26 degrees of Capricorn. So back to that area of that 6th house. And this is where we're also in January going to have a Mercury retrograde. So your work matters are things that are going to be kind of rethought in December and in January with 2 retrogrades in these areas. And I think on some level, Leo, if you are kind of like fixated on money, Venus is about money because Venus does rule the 2nd house of earned income, but also self-esteem or self-worth or, your values. And so sometimes the values start to clash when you do have more of a spiritual influence in your life. So if that resonates with you, that you feel like you have been on this kind of alternative path, it can be the tipping point where you're kind of like, this no longer is something that I feel comfortable doing, talking about whatever your work is. And it's like it might have been okay at one time, but you just want to help people in a different way now. So, but that's, Mercury is going to do that in January. So let me just talk about the Venus retrograde. That, like I said, it can have something to do with your values. It can also have to do with some kind of like review of the money that you're earning. So a salary review. maybe some kind of, research into what, if you feel like you're underpaid, getting that research to prove your point or something along those lines. This is, your finances are really going to be important in the first few months of, for the service that you offer, for the first few months of 2022, Leo, because it's not going to be until early March when I think Venus gets out of its shadow period. I might be wrong about that. Maybe it's that might be Mercury getting out of its shadow period, but I think in like late February, early March for both of those planets. And so from, because there is these things going on here, really looking at it from your highest perspective is important, because the temptation can be to just stick with what you know instead of really contemplating what is important to you at this time. And it might have something to do with new work. You will get a new moon here, like the 2nd of January. So that might even be like a new job or something. On the 21st, the winter solstice, or we can just say solstice, where the sun goes into Capricorn, is that 6th house again. And that can be something that is very energizing for you in terms of getting you down to brass tacks. Actually, Leo is a very hardworking sign as signs go. So this to me is not the kind of influence that is really like foreign to you, that you do have a good work ethic overall. And some of you Leo sun signs may have inner planets in Virgo. So that would just enhance that. On the 28th, Jupiter goes into Pisces for good now. It went in briefly in 2021. I almost said 2020. And now it's in for good. And there again, that 8th house really blesses you with studying metaphysics, and that can, or the occult, and that can include the tarot and astrology and other things that you do that are much more about inner work than necessarily being outer. Because of course, Leo is a fire sign, it's very extroverted, and it tends to put its energy outwards instead of inwards. So now, if you give yourself the gift of going within and really exploring the riches of even your psyche, the 8th house can be psychology and healing the shadow, and even exploring the shadow. That can be, for some reason, it just came into my mind, Jungian psychology. And I found out that there's a Jungian tarot deck, and that really intrigues me. So maybe I'll have to get that someday. But yeah, this, symbolism and all of that stuff. If you've always wanted to study some kind of metaphysical topic or, some coursework, this would probably be an amazing time. This is a house of magic, of alchemy, of shamanism. So yeah. So I hope you can hear there's like this, I don't know, some kind of machinery in the background. But anyway, I'm going to leave it there. I hope that you enjoyed this, Leo. If you would like a private reading, I'm doing more extensive readings. I promote those because they are a special price, and I just feel like they're more thorough because they're longer. So it's like an hour of chart analysis with an hour of transits for the upcoming 12 months called my deep dive reading. I have a combination tarot reading plus chart analysis called the whole enchilada, and other types of readings too. You can go to rainamoonastrology.com. The link is below. Take care. Bye.